be nothing that would give me greater pleasure than, in fact, beating Donald Trump and beating him badly. Everybody here understands that throughout our country's history, real change only takes place from the bottom on up, never from the top on down. The people who make the changes in the deepest sense are not presidents, they're not Supreme Court justices, they are you. They are you. Because what history has always been about is people finding themselves in a moment in history in which they look around them and they say, the status quo is not good enough. We need real change. We are at that moment in American history today. A 125 years ago, when workers had no rights, they were forced to work outrageous hours, they could be fired for any reason. Working people stood up and they said, you know what, we're not animals, we're not chattel. We're going to form a union and we're going to bargain collectively. We're going to stand up for our rights, and that's the origin of the union movement in this country. And 150 or 200 years ago, whenever, African Americans and their white allies said, racism and sexism and bigotry is not what this country is supposed to be about. Against all odds, they stood up and they fought back. Just tell you, they said that that is not what America is supposed to be about. And way back when, women said, you know what? We are tired of being second-class citizens. Sometimes we forget that 100 years ago today, women didn't have the right to vote, women didn't have property rights, women couldn't go to medical school, women couldn't go to law school, women could do the work they wanted to do. But women and their male allies stood up and said, sorry, that's not what America is about. We're going to fight for change. And not so many years ago, 10 years ago, if we were in this room and somebody stood up and said, you know, I think that in America, our gay brothers and sisters will have the right to be married in 50 states in America. The person next to him would have said, what are you smoking? Which raises another issue. So the important point to be made is that the only way change takes place is when millions of people stand up and say, enough is enough. America can be much better than where we are today. And the reason that our campaign is gaining such momentum is frankly that we are treating the American people as intelligent human beings who are prepared to hear some harsh truths about our country. Now, I could give you a wonderful speech, make it all pleasant and happy and funny, but that's not the world that we are living in. And what I've always believed, that if you do not face up to the difficult problems, if you try to sweep them under the rug, you're going to go nowhere in a hurry. So what this campaign is talking about is the unpleasant reality that we live today with a corrupt campaign finance system which is undermining American democracy. What democracy is about is you have an idea and I have an idea and we disagree and we argue over it. But at the end of the day, whether you're rich or you're poor, you get one vote and I get one vote. Democracy is not about billionaires buying elections. And what connects a corrupt campaign finance system is the fact that we are living today in a rigged economy. And what that means, as all of you know, is the average American is working longer and longer hours for lower wages, while almost all new wealth and income goes to the top 1%. That's a rigged economy. And we are also living under a broken criminal justice system. And what that means is that if some kid in South Carolina or Vermont gets picked up today for possessing marijuana, that kid will receive a police record, and that record will be carried with that person for the rest of his life. But if you are an executive on Wall Street whose illegal behavior forced this country into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, you do not get a police record. You get an increase in your salary. What this campaign is about is saying that it is wrong, it is un-American, it is unsustainable when the top 0.1% now own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That it is wrong that the 20 wealthiest people in this country now own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million people. Now, when we talk about a rigged economy, let me give you just one example of what that means. Turns out that the wealthiest family in America today is the Walton family, who owns Walmart. Now, I know that in South Carolina, many parts of the country, you hear a whole lot about welfare abuse, about people ripping off the welfare system, right? Well, let me inform you about who the major recipient of welfare in America is. Happens to be the Walton family, the wealthiest family in America. Now, why is that? And the reason is that Walmart, owned by the Walton family, pays wages that are so low that many of their employees are forced to go on Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing. And you know who pays for the food stamps, the subsidized housing, and the Medicaid? You do. So on behalf of the Walton family, the wealthiest family in America, I want to thank all of you for helping them out. They are down to their last $60 billion, and they very much appreciate your helping them out. But in all seriousness, I say to the Walton family and all those corporations that are paying workers subsistence wages, get off of welfare, pay your workers a living wage. And when we talk about wages, let's lay it out on the table. And the fact is that the federal minimum wage, which also exists in many, many states, of $7.25 an hour, is a starvation wage. You can do the arithmetic as well as I can. You can multiply 8, 9, 10 bucks an hour, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, and you end up with a sum that nobody can live on. And that is why together, that is why we are going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, 15 bucks an hour over the next few years. And when we talk about inequitable and unfair wages, I hope every man in this room will stand with the women and demand pay equity for women workers. Now, every month, federal government comes out with a report on unemployment. And what you see in the front pages tells you officially unemployment in America is 5%. That's right. The truth is that real unemployment, including those who have given up looking for work or are working part-time when they want to work full-time, is close to 10%. And youth unemployment for kids who graduated high school is off the charts. For white kids, 33%, Latino kids, 36%, African American kids, 51%. Now, if anybody thinks there is not a connection between high rates of youth unemployment and the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country, you would be mistaken. You would be mistaken. So here is a radical idea. You ready for a radical idea? As a nation, we are going to invest in jobs and education, not jails or incarceration. What this campaign is about is thinking big, thinking outside of the box. And one way that we have got to think